the Maize Project. It had an interesting start. In 1995, I decided I wanted to do a body of work because I used a lot of structure in my work. It's interesting, you know. It's hard to call myself an artist because I think that the art part is maybe in the object that I make. And so when I get an idea, it's sort of the first thing I think about it is the engineering aspect of it. I really want to engineer it. At that point, there was a lot of discussion about the structuralists from the 20s and the 30s and the different groups of people. It was a lot of almost negative press about people who were building things in the 90s. So I thought to myself, I think I'll make a anti-structure. So I used plexiglass as the structure, and then I would use resin as the, how it's used now. And so all you saw was the resin. The plexiglass went clear. And so I made that piece, the original, what we call the mother piece. And when it popped out, everybody goes, oh, it's a corn. It's a kernel of corn. And so I got that instantly. You get an idea. It's like a instant epiphany that is years of labor. I instantly thought of a giant piece of corn. Not a traditional shape of a corn or anything, but just a section of it. Why corn? And I'm thinking about corn and how it progressed and evolved in the Americas, and what a staple that was, and how corn-fed pork, and you think about all of the products, the corn syrup, everything. It's just pervasive what it is. And then right around 2000, I started really taking it seriously, and I would have friends from out of town come in, like Craig Kaufman, well-known sculptor, came in, and I go, Craig, you want to make a corn? I'm going to make a big piece of corn. And he's like, oh yeah, sure you are. And so we colorized it, so he did it, and then different friends came in, so we got a whole count up to about 8. You have the mold, you mix up the resin in a cup, and then we pour it in and you move it around until it goes off. And I make it really hot. I make the resin hot, a lot of catalyst. So if you were to leave the resin in its container, it would literally catch on fire. So we put anywhere from, minimum is about 8 to give it a good structure, up to 25 coats of that. So we were doing all kinds of crazy things, and in the early days, we'd get it too hot, it would crack, it turned really great colors. The color shift was unbelievable, the hotter you get it, So we're all kind of being like alchemists, Friends would come in from all over the place to, let's do a resin, let's pour resin. And at that time, we were taking each mold and we were doing it by hand. And it would take a day to make one piece. So if you're thinking about hundreds of pieces, you can't afford it, you can't do it, physically it's a lot of work. So what I did is I made 5 more molds, and we got to where we're doing it, but it just seemed so, oh my God, this is gonna take forever and ever. And I had thought about, a machine sort of like, a gyroscope, how they have the holder on the airplane that holds a gyroscope that shows it in the old planes. And I was there, and I walked up on Venice Beach, and here's a guy strapped in this big gimbal, and they push him and he goes all over the place. And I went, oh, that's perfect. I have to make one of those. I made a gimbal to hold 5 corns. Originally to hold 4. Well, boy, we thought this was the living end. You can make 4 in an afternoon where you could only do 1 by hand. Well, still, then I started thinking about it's like 4. It's still going to take me a year to even come close if I worked on that every day. So then I put another mold in that to do 5. And then I made another gimbal to hold 12, 6 up on the side, 6 down, 6 up, to where you could pour resin in 6 of them, and then turn it, and by the time that cools, you pour resin in the other one. So then we kicked in the machine and got it to where we could make 17 corns, the 5 gimbal and the 12 gimbal all at one time. And 17, that starts adding up. And so I started inviting all of the local artists in town, and then it just started going. Once those people came, then who do I get next? So I start reaching out to the community, to people on the street, neighbors. We've had ex-gangbangers come in. We've had, bikers, tattoo artists, musicians. We've had people, all walks of life. We have people come from Hawaii, from New York. We have a couple come in from collectors from New York, come out just to do the corn. So we've gotten pretty sophisticated. We've gotten the eraser board outside. It's sort of like, it looks like a bookie place or something, where they have it all marked. And when people come in, I go, okay, well, you have to talk to Carolyn or whoever's here to register. Because it's so crazy to trying to get, there's that part in the middle where everybody comes and they can't figure out really what to do, and they don't know the colors. And so and then you have people that know what they want to do, and let's go, let's get this going. When there's 12 people that are involved, the dynamics are incredible to watch. I tell them when they start getting too pushy, well, you have to find out what we're doing with the rest of the people, because this machine it's just going to start moving. And then we make, you've been here, we make, we'll hold it still for 5 minutes to get something to settle or something, but then somebody else is going, come on, let's go, I want to put my color in. So everybody gets pretty primal, we'll do what we do is we divide it into the purple team and the orange team. The purple side up, that side, all the nozzles are up so we can pour into that. The other side, they're down, so we can't work too hard at one time. And then, so that's the purple side is up, and then when we turn it, after we get it all mixed up, the orange team. So then you have people going, well, I want to put mine in now. And I go, no, you're on the other team. One person, I can't figure out who it is, they'll come forward and say, hey, that was my idea. Said, get a shirt, get an old shirt, and have everybody sign the shirt. And I thought that was kind of dumb, that's kind of, but then I did that, and that really caught on there. So I have a shirt that's got everybody's name on it, but a couple of people. And then what I do is when you come, I have a little card, a little eraser board card. We put the number of the corn, and it's number 1, A1 would be the first one out of that one. 1 signifies the mold shape. That was the first mold I ever made, and that's kind of appropriate for this. It was the very first mold, and that's the original one, and that's kind of a nice thing about it, because if you think about cloning, and if you think about seeds and all that sort of stuff, it all comes from something. It's going to be made of steel. I have to get plate steel. I'm going to have 4 rings, a 1/4-inch plate steel cut on a laser, and then I have to get a lot of struts to go up to hold it together. But I have to have it to where it breaks apart, because it has to get through doors. So it looks like I'll have 28 or 29 rows of 14 to go up for the corn. So I have to build all that structure for that. I wanted to build like a huge structure that you could look at, and you could think about it however you want, but then people could come and do whatever they want. And the people will surprise you. I've had very accomplished artists come and not know what to do, and really be stumbled for what to do. And people that don't know anything about what they're doing come in and look at it and come up with some of the best ideas. There are some combinations here with resin and objects that I would never think of doing. And I really have to admit that right here, that, I don't care what you're doing or who you are, you can't know everything. You can't, know what colors go with what colors, because you have an idea, you have a palette, you have an idea, but they come up with some great stuff. There's food in them, there's beads, there's rosaries, there's gold leaf. One of them that's pretty heartwarming is that a friend of mine, they lost their son, and the brother came down. They came down a week later. They said they want to commemorate their son's death doing a corn, and the brother brought both him and his brother's baby teeth, and they put in the piece. And that was pretty emotional. That was a point where it really turned, where I told people that when you come, put anything you want in it. What happened then is it was no longer my project anymore. It was so social that it supported everybody else is not about me. So and then I enjoyed it more because I'm not worried about contrast or this or that. You know what I mean? I'm not micromanaging all of what is it going to look like. I mean, the most effort that I'll have with it in its final state is trying to make it maybe look like a piece of maize corn by putting some yellows together and some black, how I've seen in the little pieces. But other than that, it's really dictated, and I don't tell anybody they can have a color or what they can do. You know, people who have come to participate, one thing I've really noticed about the people is that there's a little bit of a dreamer in a sense or something in the people. You know, they're not, you know how there's people that you know that are very accomplished and everything, but they're sort of kind of done with life. They're not really interested in exploring anything new or having any surprises. And we only had a couple of those kind of people that were bored with the whole process.